The American West of the 1800s was no Hollywood fantasy. It was raw, dirty, and relentless. Life on the frontier was a daily test of endurance, where every breath and every step reminded you of the harshness of the land. The air was thick with dust, clinging to skin and filling lungs. Add to that the pungent odor of thousands of longhorn cattle. Fear, sweat, and manure baked under the sun. The landscape itself seemed to exhale a mixture of earth and animal, a scent that settled into everything. The trail itself was alive, and you could smell it long before you saw it. Cowboys carried the scent of unwashed bodies, wood smoke, bacon grease, and chewing tobacco. Even their horses and saddles absorbed the odors of sweat and leather, blending into the ever-present aroma of the drive. These smells soaked into their clothes and skin, a badge of hardship. The sun beat down mercilessly, the wind whipped dust into faces, and the ground was littered with hazards. Every layer of grime told a story of miles travelled and obstacles overcome. Every day was a battle against the elements, stripping away comfort and leaving only what was necessary. This was the world of the cattle drive. Comfort and cleanliness were distant memories. Nights brought little relief as cowboys slept under the stars, exposed to the chill and the ever-present dust. Survival was the only goal. Every drop of water, every moment of rest was precious. Even a brief pause to drink or catch your breath was a luxury in this unforgiving environment. Hygiene was a luxury no one could afford. The truth of their existence was written in the grime on their faces and the air they breathed. Their hands, cracked and dirty, told of endless work and little respite. It was the unmistakable smell of survival, a scent that lingered long after the cattle moved on, marking those who braved the frontier as true children of the West. On the trail, water was more precious than gold. It was the single most important resource, shaping every mile of the journey and every decision the cowboys made. Every choice hinged on finding the next source, rivers, creeks, or even muddy waterholes. The chuck wagon carried barrels, but every drop was rationed for drinking and cooking, never wasted. Sometimes cowboys would ride for hours just to scout ahead for a trickle of water, knowing the herd's survival depended on it. Washing was unthinkable. Even wiping your face was a rare indulgence. Cowboys endured cracked lips, parched throats, and aching bodies, all under the relentless sun and dust. The constant thirst was a reminder of how harsh the trail could be. When water was found, cattle drank first, leaving only muddy dregs for the men. Cleanliness was at the bottom of the list. Survival came first. Cowboys often waited patiently, watching the herd drink, knowing their own turn might bring only a mouthful of grit. A damp bandana was the closest thing to a bath. The frustration of being filthy with water just out of reach was a daily test of discipline and endurance. Even a few drops to cool your brow felt like a luxury. Cowboys learned to live with discomfort and dirt. On the trail, water meant life, and nothing was wasted on luxury. Every drop was a reminder of the struggle and the strength it took to survive the journey. Cowboys wore one set of clothes, day and night, week after week. There was no luxury of a wardrobe, no fresh shirt waiting at the end of a long day. Their clothing was as much a part of them as their saddle or boots, enduring every hardship right alongside its owner. No spares, no changes, just the same shirt, pants and undergarments, chosen for toughness, not comfort. Every piece was selected for its ability to withstand the relentless demands of the trail, not for how it felt against the skin. These clothes absorbed sweat, dust, grease, and rain, becoming stiff and stained. Over time, The fabric would take on the color and scent of the land itself, a living record of every mile traveled. Washing was impossible. Water was too precious. Every drop was reserved for drinking or the cattle, leaving little for personal hygiene. Tears were patched with needle and thread, if you had them. Cowboys became experts at mending on the move, making do with whatever scraps or supplies they could carry. The constant chafe of dirty fabric was a source of misery. It rubbed raw against skin, especially after long days in the saddle, turning small discomforts into daily agony. Clothes became breeding grounds for rashes and infections. The lack of cleanliness meant even minor irritations could quickly become serious problems. A small cut could turn dangerous fast. Without clean clothes or water, wounds festered, and infection was a constant threat on the open range. By the time they reached town, their clothes were often in tatters, a testament to the journey. Each rip and stain told a story of survival and endurance. The first stop, a bath and new clothes. For many, it was the first real wash in weeks, a chance to scrub away the trail and start fresh. Old outfits were thrown away or burned, shedding the hardship of the trail. It was a ritual, a way to leave behind the dirt and struggle of the journey. Clean clothes meant a brief return to civilization. For a moment, a cowboy could feel human again, reconnecting with the world beyond the range. For a cowboy, that change was more than comfort. It was a symbol of survival, a hard-earned reward after weeks of grit and endurance. Night on the trail brought no relief, just a bedroll on the hard ground. Bedrolls were never cleaned, making them perfect homes for lice and fleas. Itching and biting were constant, robbing cowboys of sleep. Everyone was infested. Relief was rare and temporary. Picking lice from seams was a nightly ritual, but eggs always remained. Boiling clothes was a luxury, possible only near hot springs. Parasites spread disease, and open sores could become deadly infections. Cowboys didn't understand germs, but they knew misery. Lice and fleas weren't just annoying, they were a real threat to survival. Grooming on the range was about function, not style. Hair and beards grew wild, haircuts were crude, done with horse shears. Shaving was rare. No hot water, no time, no razors. Hands were calloused, cracked, and stained. Tools of survival, not vanity. Fingernails were packed with dirt. A knife was the only manicure. Toothbrushes were almost unheard of. Some used twigs or cloth, most did nothing. Chewing tobacco stained teeth and ruined gums. A toothache meant whiskey and pliers, brutal but necessary. In town, the first stop was the barber shop, a bath, shave and haircut. The transformation was dramatic. Grime and hardship washed away. Clean and fresh, cowboys could finally enjoy civilization. For a moment, they felt human again. The filth and exhaustion of the trail bred sickness. Sweat, dirt, and chafing led to rashes, boils, and infections. A small cut could become deadly without medicine. Food was monotonous, beans, bacon, biscuits, and often spoiled. Contaminated water and food caused dysentery, leaving men too weak to ride. Germs were a mystery, but disease spread fast in close quarters. One sick man meant others would soon follow. No doctors, just folk remedies, whiskey for pain, turpentine for wounds. There was no sick leave. The drive had to go on. The sick rode in the chuck wagon if they were lucky. Sometimes the too ill were left behind. The herd moved forward no matter what. On the trail, survival of the fittest was the only law. After months of filth, reaching a cattle town meant one thing: a bath. Barbershops and bathhouses did brisk business, offering hot water for a price. Cowboys scrubbed away months of grime, sometimes needing several tubs to get clean. The transformation was astonishing. Wild men became respectable citizens. Clean skin and new clothes marked a break from the trail. Old outfits were discarded, sometimes burned right in the street. A bath and fresh clothes were tickets to the saloon and dance hall. Only then could a cowboy enjoy the pleasures of town. Cleanliness was more than comfort. It was a ritual of renewal. For a brief time they could forget the hardships and feel human again. The cowboy's life was not glamorous. It was a daily fight for survival. Lack of hygiene wasn't laziness, it was necessity. Every resource was rationed for the drive, not for comfort. Cowboys adapted, enduring dirt, parasites, and disease. Their toughness was legendary. Grit was their badge of honor. Modern comforts were unimaginable luxuries. Their story isn't about filth, but about endurance. The grime on their skin was proof of what they overcame. They weren't heroes. They were survivors. The true legacy of the cowboy is found in their unyielding grit and will to endure.